I called Dallas and was like, love the script, man. Best script I've read. It's incredible. I was like, but who are you thinking to play Jesus? He goes, oh, I'm not worried about that at all. That's a friend of mine. And I was like, what? Me not knowing Dallas well at all that yet, going, I'm sorry, your friend is playing Jesus? That sounds like a terrible idea.
Hey friends, welcome to another installment of Stories from the Valley. In this series, we chat with ordinary people that have chased their passions and have achieved some incredible accomplishments in their career. Today I chat with my buddy Adam Drake. Adam is a talented filmmaker and is currently the first assistant director on the #1 crowdfunded show of all time, The Chosen. Season 4 of The Chosen is getting ready to premiere in theaters on February 1st, so be sure to grab your tickets for that and sit back and enjoy some behind-the-scenes stories with my friend, Adam Drake. Adam Drake, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Over the years, I've enjoyed seeing your posts about different projects you've been involved in, including the worldwide phenomenon, The Chosen, which we'll talk plenty about. But first, I'd love to get a quick snapshot of how you got into the film industry. Can you tell me how that came about for you?
Oddly enough, I got into this by acting. So acting was how I was first introduced to the business. When I was in college, there was no kind of film program at my school, but I was playing basketball and discovered acting and got on a couple sets. Being in Nashville, mostly music videos, commercials, and things like that. And as soon as I got on set, I just fell in love and was like, oh, well, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm called to. So I not only pursued acting, but then started pursuing of like wanting to make my own content and telling stories visually on my end as well.
So I know early in your career, you got the opportunity to work on some pretty big Christian films. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so one of the first films I jumped on, this was in the era when the Kendrick brothers were really taking off. The Kendrick brothers who did Fireproof, Courageous, Peace and Giants. So other churches and other small groups were trying to make movies too and go, we want to do what they're doing and have success in making these films through our church. And so there was one of those that was in North Carolina that I had some mutual friends and connections with. And so they asked me to be their line producer and their first AD, which I'd never done either one of those. But I had a lot of experience on set, and they didn't. So they were just looking for somebody with experience. So I went out to North Carolina and did this low-budget Christian film that was through a church. It went really well. It was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. I learned by doing it, of course. Attached to that was another producer that was doing a movie 2 months later and was like, hey, how long you been firsting? And I was like, oh, long enough. Did Dumb was my first one. He's like, well, you're really good. You should come do this movie. And I went and did that movie a couple months later. And so then it just snowballed from there. Case for Christ, it was a great experience. Mike Vogel, who played Lee Strobel's character, was incredible. It was such a pro. I remember when I did the film, I was one I was proud of. It was like, this is good, because a lot of the lower budget Christian films I worked on weren't great, and I wasn't wasn't something that I was proud of. I remember Case for Christ was one of the first ones where I'm like, this is going to be good. This is a good movie. And then the Kendricks. So when I was at film school, the Kendrick brothers released Fireproof. And it was doing really well. It was in the box office. Everybody's talking about it. And I remember shooting Alex Kendrick, the director, an email saying, I'm in film school. Would love to come do your movie or whatever. And he actually responded and was like, we're basically all volunteers. We're not at the point still where we're hiring you. Fireproof, they were still using volunteers. Years later, they go to make Overcomer. And I ended up getting a call from Alex and Steven and interviewed with them and went really well. And so then obviously came on with them to do Overcomer. What an incredible experience. Like the way they do their movies is completely different than everyone else. It's more like going to church camp than filming a movie. And I loved it. It was great. They're preachers and ministers first before they're filmmakers. And so that's the way they kind of run their set. So it is, I think when somebody, coming from like The Chosen or coming from another show or production, I know coming into it can be like, whoa, what are you guys doing? This is not how things work. So they just do things differently, but it works for them.
That's awesome, man. Let's move on to some of your more recent work. The last few years, you've worked on the #1 crowdfunded show of all time, The Chosen. Can you tell me what your role is on the show?
Yeah, so I'm the first assistant director on The Chosen.
Action!
The first assistant director, what I do is Dallas will send me the scripts and I break that down into locations and characters and props and all those things. and put it into a program and then schedule it all out and then lay out the schedule. And then once we start filming, it's my job to keep us on that schedule. So to keep us moving efficiently and on time, because time is money in the industry and it is very expensive to film because there's, especially on The Chosen, there's 150 to 200 crew members every day. For the person that has never been on a set before, if you were to walk onto a set, you would think the first AD is the director because I'm the one directing everybody of what to do.
Background? Go ahead. Action.
But I'm handling all the logistics, whereas Dallas is the creative. He's focusing on the story and the actors and the moments and the beats and the flow of the show. And all creative, I'm all the logistics to make sure we get what we need to get through the lens. So I had made a film called Heaven Bound with a partner, Tori Martin, and we were at a film festival and we were showing Heaven Bound, and then Dallas was showing Resurrection of Gavin Stone. The film showed back to back, and Tori, my producing partner and the writer, was good friends with Dallas. Dallas saw our film, loved it. Fast forward a few years later, The Chosen springs up and he's starting to look for crew. And Dallas called several producers I had worked with and asked them about me. And so he called me and said that, I've called all the producers and not one of them can say anything bad about you, about you running a set. He said, so I guess I should hire you. I said, well, I pay them all really well. And so anyways, Dallas called and we went through it and he brought me on to The Chosen.
So we'll have you kind of mix and match and walking around a little bit more and talking to each other and just hanging out, having a good time.
You see the scripts, and I'll never forget reading the first 4 episodes thinking, wow, this is the best scripts I've read. But my biggest concern was, man, who's going to play these characters? Like, this is really good, but these actors have to be good. I called Dallas and was like, love the script, man. Best scripts I've read. It's incredible. I was like, but who are you thinking to play Jesus? He goes, oh, I'm not worried about that at all. That's a friend of mine. And I was like, what? Me not knowing Dallas well at all that yet, going, I'm sorry, your friend is playing Jesus? That sounds like a terrible idea. But then, of course, once we came on set, I remember being like just blown away. Jonathan Roumie, we started filming going, oh, okay. It makes sense now. I understand why Dallas was so confident in him. He is extremely talented.
I am the law of Moses.
What's it like working with Dallas? What sort of interactions do you guys have on set?
Yeah, so Dallas and I work very closely, obviously, together every day when we're filming. Dallas is hard to read. Dallas is very straightforward, but also you can't tell if he's mad or if he's good, or you know what I mean? He just doesn't show a lot of expressions. And I think it takes a lot of people a long time to read him, and some people I don't think ever learn how to read him. And for me, that's kind of like my bread and butter. That's what I'm good at. I feel like I'm good at firsting because I'm good at reading people. And Dallas was by far the hardest. I feel like by the time we started filming, I still didn't understand. I wasn't sure what he wanted, I think it probably took another 2 weeks of filming before I okay, now I understand Dallas and I feel like I know how he works and what he likes, what he doesn't like. And then fast forward now, 5 years later, Dallas and I are great friends. I work with him closely every day when we're filming and I feel like I know exactly what he wants.
Ask Akis, did he get a shot of them hanging out?
Akis, did you get a shot of them hanging out? Did we get that before we started moving them?
Oh, we have it. Once they move and they line up again, we want to do that top part again.
Oh, great. Forget. Okay, so tell the guys to put the
All right,
oars back in.
So guys, put the oars back in once you face shore, and let's just hold there.
The guy who plays Gaius, his name's Kirk Waller, and he teaches an acting class. And we got to talking about just how all the different actors work. And I think that's such a fun thing to talk about and interesting how they're all so different. For instance, Jonathan Roumie, right before we shoot, he needs a moment to step away. And I think just pray and kind of get in the presence of the Lord, honestly, to bring that in. And I think that's why everybody said it's the best portrayal of Jesus we've seen, because I think that he takes that so seriously and humbles himself and brings himself to the presence of the Lord before he goes on camera. And it's cool to see how different actors also approach their roles, though. So like Brandon Potter, who plays Quintus, which is kind of more of a fun, witty role. He can come in and kind of just spitball different ideas, and Dallas will kind of let him run with it. So he'll do the lines the way they are, and then he kind of throws in his own thing, or he throws in a different way of playing it. There's different actors that kind of need those moments to prepare for the scene. And then there's other ones that can just jump right in. For instance, Liz, who plays Mary Magdalene, over the last few seasons, she's had a lot of very emotional moments. And she's one of those actors that can just instantly turn it on. She's like making jokes right before the scene. And then I call roll camera, we roll, and then boom, she just instantly goes in the moment. And it's like beautiful. She's crying and she's so emotional. And I was like, she was just making a joke 30 seconds ago.
He already fixed me once. And I broke again.
I've heard Dallas talk about Red Sea moments that you guys have had on set where you're pretty much going to need a miracle to pull the shot off. Can you talk about some of the more challenging scenes you guys have done?
Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of Red Sea moments. Literally, one was next to the sea. We were at the lake filming, and it was just unbelievably foggy. Like, I mean, you couldn't see more than 20 feet. We just assumed it'd burn off in the morning. It was like a 7 a.m. call. By 10 a.m., it was still just as foggy. And we come back from lunch, and it's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had still not filmed anything because it was so foggy. And I remember saying, okay, let's go home. And we started packing up stuff. And within seconds, the moment we started packing up stuff, I mean, it was within 30 seconds, it all just disappeared instantly. And so we grabbed everybody really quickly and said, all right, let's get out here. Let's get filming. Normally we'd shoot 7 to 7. And we ended up filming from 2 or 3 o'clock until 7 and got everything we needed that day and just shot extremely fast and was able to make it up. So that was one of the Red Sea moments. The walking on water, that one is such a favorite because none of us knew how it would turn out. We're filming, on a giant blue screen just in the water with the big waves. And the production value looks incredible. It's like, this is cool, but how's this going to turn out in the end? And being able to see that on the big screen in theaters was extremely rewarding. Feeding the 5000 was incredible. It was such a fun, incredible experience because the extras love being there. They paid to be there versus us paying them to be there, which, Marvel doesn't even get that. And they're excited to be there and they love being there and they're so grateful and saying thank you to you. And so it's an adrenaline rush to have all those people there just excited to be a part of the show. After a 12 or 13 hour day, it's 105 degrees, 110 degrees, and people are passing out from heat exhaustion. And people still coming up to you and going, this is the greatest day of my life. I've had so much fun. I love being here. So the fans make it so much more worth it too. And then outside of that, when I'm home and when I'm not on set, I get messages all the time through social media like Facebook and Instagram and things like that of people just saying, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the sacrifice that you make to your family and to other things you could be doing, like being on the set and working on The Chosen. Even if I was making the latest Marvel movie, nobody's going to say thank you for taking the time to do that. And so it's pretty incredible.
Has working on The Chosen, has it impacted your faith life in any way, or maybe even changed the way you read the Bible or see the disciples?
Oh, for sure. The biggest one probably with me was like the Pharisees. I always saw the Pharisees as so flat and boring and just like not true people. And then the way that Chosen's really dived into that, and like with the Shmuel character who's really struggling with like law versus relationship. The Pharisees weren't just these religious leaders that were like, stale and all that thing. There were people that were struggling too with like, who is this guy that's come in here? This is the law we've always learned and the traditions we know, like, and this guy's coming here and changing that, but he's claiming to be the Messiah. And then of course the disciples, Simon, and problems he has at home between him and Eden and leaving his family and going and following Jesus. That's had a direct impact on me. So that's exactly what I do. So The Chosen takes up a lot of my time. I'm gone for months at a time, and I have 5 kids at home with a wife. So Simon and Eden's story is very closely related to my exact story. I have twins that are 13 and then a 9, 7, and 5. My wife, season 3, she drove out to Texas with all 5 kids probably 10 times. This past season, they had a lot more going on, and that didn't work, so I ended up flying home like every other weekend. It's ebb and flow, that we continue to figure out. It's different every season. And then the great part of that is, though, so now I'm not working on anything, so I'm home. And so when I'm home, I'm just home. The great thing for our kids is it's like vacation every day. Let's go to the lake today. Let's go to the park. We can just last minute plan and just go anywhere because I don't have a 9-to-5 job, and we can just jump in and go.
So what would you say to future storytellers wanting to get into the film industry, and why is it important to have people of faith in these roles?
Yeah, if you want to get into film, I would say get connected. I mean, the biggest thing I did at the very beginning was networking. Find anybody you know in the industry, and it can be me. You can send me a message on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. Find somebody that's doing it, message them and ask how to get involved, and then go to workshops, film festivals, like anything that's in the industry, and just meet people. I say it's like 80% networking and 20% what you know, but that 20% has to be 100%. You do need to hone your craft. You do need to be editing, shooting, whatever it is that you want to do. You need to be working on that. but you also need to spend way more of that time networking and meeting people and getting connected in the industry. And then I would say for the faith-based person that wants to be in the industry, we need more people like that. Nothing has more impact on our culture than movies and television and what we're watching. Even if you don't want to make Christian content, then jump into Hollywood and have and secular films and have impact there. I think we need it, and I think we need it, and The Chosen has proven that, right? I mean, I think people are hungry for something like The Chosen, and that's why it's been so successful. Is people were hungry for good Christian content that is just good storytelling too, and want to just binge a show and enjoy it and binge something that's good.
Well, Adam, man, I can't thank you enough for your time today. As a fan of The Chosen myself, I just want to echo the rest of the fans and just say thank you for what you're doing. Like, it's touching lives, it's amazing, and appreciate your time today.
Yeah, man, thank you.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. Hey, if you enjoy stories like this, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, sharing with your friends, and we'll see you next time.